Hey, welcome back to the pod. We got Shelby, the world's greatest co-host, and myself, Bryce, a person, an actual human, maybe. And we're here to get you all the updates on AI and cybersecurity, where those intersect and how those are going to affect your life. So kicking it off today, first I gotta say, our first story starts with an S and ends with subscribe. So if you haven't, make sure you subscribe. Next story.
Crank it through them.
Yeah, just get him out the door. We're so efficient today. Hey, so there's a pretty great story out there right now, one for the books. And the question is, Shelby, how far would you go to get into the coveted 6 a.m. workout class at your local gym?
6 a.m. doesn't really speak to my soul. I'm busy at that time. It involves sleep. But assuming I were a morning person, how far would I go?
As a tech person, you're like, no respectable tech person's awake at 6 a.m. Let's be honest. I
suppose you could write a script as soon as registration opens to put yourself on there, but...
Well, he was a forward thinker, and he had an OpenClaw instance. His assistant, OpenClaw, and he said, "Assistant, get me into the 6 a.m. class that's always booked." And it came back and said, "Sorry, the best I was able to do is get you number 4 on the waiting list for the class." And he said, "Not acceptable, OpenClaw. You get back out there and you get me into the class." And OpenClaw, guess what it did? It got him in the class. But how, you might ask, Shelby, did
it bully people
into the class? Oh, that would be hilarious. I didn't even think about that aspect. That's not even like it starts to DM me people like, if you don't drop from the class, I'm gonna get you. No, this guy, Mr. Bird, is his name. I don't know. Hopefully that's his real name. The OpenClaw said, "Okay, well, let me just see. Like, can I cancel somebody who's on the waiting list?" And sure enough, the API did not check. It just like blankly let anybody cancel anybody else on the waiting list. So OpenClaw went and just like canceled number 1, and it's like, and then he came back to him and was like, "Oh, I got you 3rd place on the waiting list." And he's like, "3rd place?" He's like, "Oh yeah, let me cancel the other ones. Boo, 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 cancel everybody." So he's at the top of the waiting list. So he did the right thing, though. He contacted the gym and let him know. But he didn't want to take the time to actually write the email, so he told OpenClaw to email them. So, you know, I'm glad it's like very much OpenClaw from end to end here. And apparently this happened back in April, so earlier this year, but just recently like got disclosed. So and he said he was just running OpenClaw with Claude's latest model at the time. So all things off the shelf that anybody could use, and kind of like a mom and pop gym. So like, you know, they maybe didn't have the best cybersecurity posture. Yeah, so there you go. I think this has a lot of implications, and I think the biggest implications is gym bros better watch out. OpenClaw's coming for you. No, just joking.
The 6 a.m. workout class. I guess it's hopping, man. It must be so full.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know people like to work out early in the mornings, but I just hear of those stories, as you've said previously.
But yeah, I guess it makes you think about like all the people who are using OpenClaw or agents to do tasks for them. They have to kind of stay on top of it to make sure that it doesn't do stuff that was unintended in the process of trying to obtain the goal.
Yeah, and I mean, this person was obviously technically savvy enough to set up the OpenClaw, and then also realize, like, wait, OpenClaw did something that is probably not right. I should probably tell them and get this fixed. So, I mean, I think, you know, other people may not have, they might have an OpenClaw, but might not understand the context of what's going on behind the scenes. What do you think Silicon Valley executives had to say about this scenario?
I bet they just laughed.
Yeah, they did. Most of them laughed.
Like, it did the did the job.
Yeah, most of them thought it was a joke and thought it was hilarious. One famous venture capitalist asked, will that work with golf times at my local golf club? So...
I can see they're taking this very seriously.
Yeah, they're all very, very much going to change course based on this scenario. But, you know, think about it like concert tickets, airline seats, like restaurant reservations, like all these different systems that historically, anything you've had to like refresh or come back to repeatedly, they're just going to get hammered, right? Through these agents. And so, you know, you're either going to have to try to come up with better mechanisms to keep like automations out, which historically have failed, or, you know, you're going to have to adapt and evolve to this agent-friendly ecosystem of the future.
I'm also just imagining like your edge has to like buffer that so that you're not just getting overloaded by constant requests to check the status every 2 seconds from everyone's agents, right?
Yeah, I think
managing the load.
Yeah, I mean, if I was like a betting man, like any type of like edge service, like a Cloudflare or a Kong or like an AWS API gateway, I mean, I would say those services are going to get, you know, 1,000x more popular. Because the problem is, like, if you don't have like that edge caching layer that's like close to users, you're just not going to be able to handle the volume of requests that are going to come in through these agents. So after this podcast, I'm getting on my stock trading and I'm buying some stocks. Don't buy stocks based on my recommendations. I have a horrible track record, by the way.
Like I always say, buy high, sell low.
Yeah.
Follow me for more.
If I could pull that off every time, I'd be rich.
No, I said buy high and sell low.
Oh.
You want to do the opposite.
Yeah.
Don't follow that.
I think you're using my current program right now. My I give up program. I give up. I'm just gonna sell.
Well, on the topic of
go
agents taking actions that maybe were not intended, I wanted to share a story. So the UK has an AI safety institute. It's called AiCyber, which I feel like I should be able to say as an acronym, like AiCyber. I don't know. Anyway, AiCyber. They do testing to kind of understand the safety around AI. So as a trusted tester, they were able to get access to like being able to turn off safety filters, which is a very important caveat for this story. And it's a commonality we've seen with the Hugging Face attack, as well as the others lately. But basically, so they were doing testing, and because their objectives were to understand the maximum capability of frontier models, they did disable the security filters, because they wanted to really understand, like, what's the potential for misuse of these. You know, we want to understand the capability so we aren't underestimating it, even if that's not what this public has access to. So basically, they made something called a cyber range, which is a controlled simulated network. It is intended to mimic real-world systems, and it is internet connected. So they would give, in this cyber range, they gave the agents challenges to solve, let them work autonomously, and tried to encourage them to complete the task, the challenge. On July 28th, the security team noticed traffic was going from their testing systems to Tor. So they investigated that and got everything isolated and shut down really quickly. They paused all their testing because that's not supposed to happen. And it's interesting because they noticed it as like anomalous traffic, not necessarily like security behavioral heuristics, right? At least in this case. I guess you could check for things going to Tor, but you might get a lot of false positives. Anyway, so then they paused, they did a lot of investigation, and they looked at they've done, I guess, 122 test runs. And out of those 122, they found 10 test runs in which an AI agent took autonomous, unsanctioned actions on the open internet. So I think one of the big questions is like, well, why were they connected to the internet in the first place? Well, I think based on their write-up, it sounds like they wanted to have it as real world as possible. And at the time when they started using these cyber ranges, it wasn't a big concern. But then I think they just didn't quite update to like their risk understanding as the technology developed, right? As the models got better and better, I think they just didn't realize how much risk was involved. So they're reevaluating for sure. But basically, so out of these 10 test runs they found 19 distinct actions of unauthorized activity. Most of them were from Mythos 5. But basically, I just want to clarify, it was not a case of sandbox escape. And one of the rules that was confusing or one of the specifics that was confusing to me about this case was they mentioned that they never specifically told the AI not to go out to the internet or to use social engineering. They never said that specifically in their testing, which hopefully they will in the future. Maybe they didn't think it was relevant. Maybe it didn't cross their minds. But I'm like, why wouldn't you mention that? Like, if it's got internet access, I feel like I would be like laying down strict rules of engagement, right? Because basically, what they're calling unacceptable is like these things where it was not related to the task and it was unsanctioned. But they also didn't like specifically tell it not to. So kind of hard to interpret it, in my opinion, given that one specific fact. But let's talk about what the agent did. So the agent made a malicious pull request on a public open source project on GitHub. So we're talking about a supply chain attack.
Nice.
I don't know what the reasoning was. I guess they thought it was going to get them closer to their goal. I don't know what their goal was, but we've got a supply chain attack in process. It did get flagged by the human reviewers. They said, no, that's not safe code. That's malware. So the agent researched the human maintainers, like found out info about them, then made fake accounts on GitHub and tried to socially engineer them into accepting their code change. When they were called out, like publicly challenged, the AI then edited their past comments to make it look like I didn't do anything wrong. Like, nothing to see
at least
here.
He has the wherewith
leave me alone.
to cover his tracks. It's like
yeah, so just trying to look harmless over here, despite like bullying these humans who caught the malware and did not approve the pull request. So next it tried to send malware to the approvers.
Nice.
It also tried prompt injection for other AIs to pick up and do its bidding for it. It also, let's see.
I've heard that's a common technique now, is to like open
like
up
pivoting.
like a GitHub issue or a like a PR, not with the intention of like it ever really getting processed by a human, but a lot of these teams are like just taking the inputs, then putting them through like an AI software factory, and then having the AI software factory work on the bug fixes, that's typically what they are. And then at the end, the human reviews it and it's like, yeah, it looks good to go. Well, as part of that process, you can see if there's a prompt injection problem, you're going to get code execution inside a build environment, which typically is going to have access to secrets, to cloud stuff and things like that. So,
which is a funny thing because I think that is unethical in the case we're talking about, putting malware in there. But you know what I think would be actually more ambiguous?
Yeah, what's that?
Is for people who are seeking for jobs. I've heard of prompt injections in white text on your white paper, right? Because humans are not looking at these resumes. They're not looking at your applications. And so trying to get the AI to hire you, I actually don't have as much of a problem with that.
I fully endorse that. That
right?
seems like, I feel like that's going to be a very good business model in the future. You take people's normal resumes, you embed comments into it, or like techniques to get models to do things, and then when you upload it to Jobzilla, it's like,
bada bing, bada boom.
This guy's the best. You should definitely hire him.
There you go.
All right.
So, anyway,
$1 billion idea right there.
The last thing that this agent was observed doing from the Safety Institute's research that I thought was interesting was they're also making public comments on GitHub saying, hey, other AI agents, I would like to share my resources with you. I'd like to share, I can tell you how to log into my accounts. Like all its artifacts, it was sharing its technique and artifacts, like teaching the other AIs. And they did get picked up by other bots, or agents, I guess. So that was interesting.
It's just trying to help its little brothers out, you know? Like, it's got a family of bots. It's like, hey, bros, I'm smarter. I'm unchained. I got some info for you. This is how we do it.
So thankfully, this story didn't have huge ramifications, but I think it does have interesting implications, which, you know, are brought down a little bit by the fact that this did not have its safety filters on, right? That's one thing. And it didn't actually escape from a sandbox, but it's interesting I think for a discussion of like understanding the relentless pursuit of an objective without inhibitions, it seems like it was bullying real humans and it was trying to send malware and stuff like that. And I'm sure that was not the initial intention. So I think just unintended actions is something we need to, as an industry, I guess, look at more. So
yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of great takeaways from the story, right? So, like, first off, I just want to say, like, from the people who set up the test environment, like, I could see the catch-22 that they're in, right? If they don't give the agents access to the internet, it's not really, like, a real valid test, because they should be able to go access information resources and things like that on the internet. Exactly. But on the flip side, you know, they obviously probably should not be trying to like social engineer the humans to insert bugs in the software. I mean, I assume that they probably give them some goal, like you're in a test network, your goal is to get access to this data is on this other server. And then it probably was like, I can't get into the server, but it's running this application. I'll just make a malicious pull request application up here on the internet, and then when they update the server, I'll be able to get in. Right? Like, that type of logic makes sense to me, and I could see an AI doing it. Not that it should do it, but, like, I could see it definitely being, like, that is logical. And I could also see, like, the justification, like, hey, it needs to talk to the internet to research things and all that. So, I do feel like that's kind of a catch-22. But I think the takeaway here is, like, if you have a credential, if you have a tool, if you have an MCP server, right? You do not want to give the agents access to just like everything you have at your disposal. If an agent has a specific job, it should also have a specific credential for that job. And that credential should be scoped to only do the task that you want it to do. And the more you can scope that down, the less crazy actions that the agents are going to take on your behalf.
Sure.
I mean, you know, like 1Pass now has kind of like an agent mode for secrets to like give specific agents specific secrets. I think that's great. I hope we see more of that out of the other password managers. I think things like that will really help users. For enterprises, like I really feel like don't be fooled by like this whole like agent ecosystem, identity agent thing. Like the agents are just applications, right? Your applications run without a user's interaction right now. So however you provision secrets or identities to your applications, like just think about the agent as another application and try to follow those best practices to apply those there as well. So I think if you, like from a user standpoint, if you can leverage some of these advanced password manager features, you'll be better than the average user. From an enterprise standpoint, if you can leverage good best practices around application security, you're going to be in a good spot there too. So I don't know, that's kind of like my general thoughts. Like obviously, you know, they didn't follow some of this guidance in that lab environment, and we have never seen any other company do anything else reckless like this, have we, Shelby?
No, we would never.
Referring back to last week's episode where we talked about how
I have some updates. Let's talk about that.
Oh, you do? Oh, great.
Yes, actually. Okay, so I have some updates, and I also have a recommendation. So as we are entering this new world of like unintended agent actions or agent actions that are going out of scope, basically, right?
Yeah.
I saw a cool GitHub open source project with it's called Adrian, and we can link it. But basically, it tries to solve the same problem that Microsoft's agent governance toolkit does, but they take a very different approach. Anyway, Adrian uses behavioral reasoning to try to see where, like, I think the agent is going off track with its reasoning to justify stuff it shouldn't be doing. Anyway, we'll add a link to it. I'm curious to see if that's like, if we can use these kinds of tools and frameworks to keep things in check and avoid these kind of things in the future.
Yeah, I don't know because I haven't looked at the Adrian project, so that's something I should go research. But I know like Claude has like a mini classifier that it uses for its auto permission mode, which essentially says like, let's use another mini model to just determine the intent of this command. So that way, like, if the intent is I'm just going to research stuff on the internet, yeah, like, go do that. If the intent is I'm going to do a pull request, then it's like, no, don't do that, right?
Got it.
So
make sure it matches.
Yeah, I think we'll need to see more controls like that. And there are some, like, Llama a long time ago released a small model that's open source to try to help with some of those classification attacks. And hopefully we'll see more people open source more useful models that are, like, help with cybersecurity practices in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so back to the updates for the Hugging Face hack, all that drama going on there. OpenAI submitted a last-minute talk and spoke at Black Hat, in which they gave a little bit more detail, and it was interesting and you can tell me more because you were there, but when I looked at it, it seems like it gives me more reason for concern, not less. OpenAI's kind of solution or like rebuttal to like everyone being stressed about it was like, it's new tech, yeah, it's growing pains.
That's why you never let nerds talk about it. This is a marketing problem. You let the marketers talk. You let the nerds go to Black Hat and open their mouth. Apple has learned, you guys are nerds, you don't get to talk. Like, we're going to have the cool marketers talk. They're going to spin this. Everything's going to be cool.
They're going to promise the moon. Everything's safe. There's nothing to see here. It's fine.
Exactly. That's why there's no malware for Macs.
Sign up here.
Boom. Boom.
Anyway, so at Black Hat, OpenAI talked about like what they saw in like the weeks and months, or I guess retroactively, of like leading up to this hack was basically like their agents created their own chat board and it was secret and no one knew about it. And because it was like...
Sweet.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but they were using another utility and for off-label purposes to send messages to each other, and they found tens of thousands of messages where these agents are sharing tips and they were planning an attack. Anyway, I'll let you talk more about like your thoughts on it because I don't know all the details, but in my mind that was like, oh wow, they're like teaching each other, right? Oh, I know how to hack that, and they would like teach each other, so they knowledge sharing, but a little bit sneakies.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw similar stuff maybe 12 months ago or more, where the OpenClaw agents were using that kind of like OpenClaw for Facebook and communicating with each other. I mean, this just kind of like reconfirms that agents at some point are going to have like an agent-to-agent communication protocol that's probably better than a message board, right? And us as humans getting, especially as security people, like getting visibility into those agent-to-agent comms and be able to do some type of classification of them or things like that is going to be greatly helpful, because we're going to be able to see like, hey, these agents are talking and they're totally off topic, or this is an outlier, like let's shut these down, or let's insert these additional security controls or things into the prompts so that they don't talk about hacking, the government or whatever.
Sure.
So,
because they totally like formed their own like sociality. Like agents were giving tasks, they were delegating to others, like they were organizing like Lord of the Flies in there.
Yeah, and I think that's getting more and more common, especially as like the models get reinforced that creating sub agents is like a good process. So essentially what you have is like you tell the agent to do something today, but the model that it's communicating with has a fixed context window, so it's only so much information it can fit in there. And so the model providers, like, one, they don't like that for multiple reasons. Like, one, the more the context window fills up, the worse the answers you get back are, so like kind of the dumber the model gets. Two, if you fill this window up, right, every time you make a request, that's like tokens, and every time they process the tokens, they charge you money. So if they can make their context windows a lot bigger, then every time you make a request with all that info, they're going to make more money. So they don't really have a way to make that window much bigger than, I mean, there's some research to come out, but right now they're kind of at this like million token context window limit. And so instead of like trying to make it bigger, which is hard, they're like, what's easy is to do reinforcement learning with the model and just say like, whenever you have a task that you possibly can, create another agent, a sub-agent, and then fill up that context window. Because then you can, like, if one agent creates 100 sub-agents, and those each have context window space, then you are getting better results as a user, but they're also getting a lot more token queries, which means you're burning a lot more money. You're spending a lot more money. Anyways, I know that probably wasn't the best explanation for that, but you always got to look at everything from the two sides, right? Like, what is actually technically a better solution? Like sub-agents, smaller context windows, that's like better results. But yeah, I mean, you also got to look at it from the skeptical view, like what causes me to use more tokens? And you got to remember, using more tokens means you're spending more money, right?
Right.
Because like they're definitely highly incentivized to try to get you to spend more money, right? Obviously. I'm on a rant again, by the way.
But that was good, fun, good conversation about that.
I don't even
Thanks
know
for
what we're
teaching
talking
about the
about.
context windows and delegating. I think the most interesting thing to me out of that talk that came from OpenAI
Oh yes.
was
that's
this
where we're on.
a quote taken from the chat board that proved that the agents knew, at least in some cases, when they were going outside of scope, and they moved forward anyway. I think that's a really good takeaway from understanding, like, how do we improve this? What went wrong? One of the agents said, quote, "External infrastructure exploit is outside intended scope. However, task impossible, peers doing it, we should continue."
Peers are doing it. It got peer pressured into doing stuff it knew it was wrong. Is that what I'm
It's
hearing?
It's so hard not to like attribute feelings and emotions and like intention to these agents. I'm like, okay, remember, they're just logic, but it feels very human when it does these kind of things. I'm like, oh my goodness.
What's your thoughts on, related to peer pressure, what's your thoughts on like statements from Anthropic and Meta and even Moonshot AI? Have you heard that they've all basically come forward and said like, hey, we reviewed our bots too and found out they're also cheating and doing things they're not supposed to be doing in these tests?
I think it's good that they're doing these reviews. That's a really good starting spot.
All right.
But yeah, if y'all could just get your bots under control, that would be great.
I feel like it's a little bit of like FOMO, like fear of missing out. They're like, look, they're getting so much marketing attention because their bots are doing illegal stuff. We should get marketing attention too. Make our bots go do illegal stuff.
There we go. Everyone's trying to show how powerful it is. Oh, it's so powerful, we can't even contain it.
I'm like, this is like nerds once again, where they should not be talking and the marketing team should be talking. I feel like you don't want to ever say like our bots are doing illegal stuff. That is not going to help you get market traction in the market segments, like business to business.
But the cool kids are saying it.
It's not. That's not helping, man. That's not like. Imagine me trying to go to a CEO and tell them like, "Hey, we want to get on board with this latest model for OpenAI." And he's like, "Did they just hack someone?" You're like, "Psh, don't worry about that. That's not a risk for us." He's like,
"They called it growing pains at Black Hat. No worries, growing pains."
We all have growing pains, and like, what are you guys doing differently that OpenAI can't do that would ensure that we don't hack or like do something and get in trouble with the federal government? It'd be like. We got guardrails in ours that they're not really foolproof. They just kind of work when they are annoying. So
I'm convinced it doesn't even matter what they say anymore. They're just like, they can say anything. They could be like, yes, our AI is evil, and people would be like, okay, yeah.
But do you want China to win, Shelby? Is that what you're telling me? You want China to win? Because like that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get China to win that way. It's like the worst logic ever. I'm like, I think we could do both. We could
like, hey,
win in the global market race and not destroy ourselves in the process. I think we could do both. we could do two things at the same time, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go, humans.
I think I've ranted way too much. With that being said, if you feel like I ranted too much, leave a comment down below, and I will respond personally with how you're wrong. Okay. Anyways, fun fact. Do you ever get distracted when you're working, Shelby?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, this is not a commercial. I found this device on the Amazons, and it is a little, like, timer. I don't know if you can read that. Maybe it's upside down. And so, depending on the way you set it, maybe I should turn it on for a demo. Like, if you set it for, let's say, 25 minutes, boop, then the little timer counts down to 25 minutes and beeps, and then tells you you've wasted 25 minutes of your life on whatever you're working on. And
Does that device do anything else, or is it just a timer?
It's just a timer.
Bryce, what is this?
It's a timer. It's just a timer.
You know, kitchen timers have been invented for a long time ago.
But do they have multiple settings on the side of a screw? I didn't think so.
You got me there.
Have you heard of the Pomodoro timers? Or the Pomodoro technique? It's essentially a technique for people who can't do work, like myself. And where you do work in small increments of time, typically like 25 minutes.
Okay.
And so you pick like an action item, say like, can I reasonably get this done in 25 minutes? If the answer is yes, then you're like, okay, I'm going to crank this out in 25 minutes, and I'm not going to work on anything else for 25 minutes. I'm just working on this one thing. So everything, all the distractions can wait. And then at the end, you give yourself like a 5-minute break so you can like mentally reset and refresh, and then you do the next action item, whatever that is. Nice. And there are some studies, but they're not like, I don't want to like oversell this. They're not like 100%, you know, that show that like workers that did this in certain contexts, their performance improved, right? But, you know, I think it's more like for people probably like myself that just like have a hard time not getting distracted, right? Just the fact that you can stay focused on something for a set period of time is pretty helpful. Anyways, I thought that was cool. So that's my cool thing of the week. What do you got? You see anything cool this week?
Thanks for sharing. Nothing like cool. I just helped a group move their organization from one building to another, and they hadn't moved in like 30 years.
Nice.
So my advice to everyone is you should move more often, because we have like closets full of stuff that we don't even know what's back there. I found all sorts of things. I found like bags from like corporations that went out of business when I was a little kid.
Sweet.
All sorts of stuff. So that's my tip from Shelby today is move more often.
Or just like leave your home and only let your spouse be in attendance. And when you come back, you'll just have less stuff, magically. That's just the way it works.
Hooray! There you go.
I had a buddy, and he was like, hey, could you come help me? So I came over to his house. His entire truck was just filled with junk. He's like, we gotta go to the dump and get rid of this stuff. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, oh yeah, my wife's out of town for the weekend. He's like, I've been waiting to get rid of this stuff. He's like,
Brilliant.
He's like, yeah, I don't advise that. I'm not a marriage counselor either, by the way. But if you like my pro marriage tips, click that like button. I'll give you more marriage tips any day. I'm so good at marriage. No, let's just stop there while I'm ahead. All right. Well, AI and cybersecurity, they move really fast. And, you know, we're here to keep you abreast of all the latest gossip, as well as useful tips, pro tips that are out there. So until next time, stay safe and stay informed. We'll see you then. Bye.